"Dad, I'm paralyzed and can't walk," my daughter sobbed on the phone. "I gave away almost all my life savings, $30,000 for 5 months of treatment and nurses. And then I arrived without warning and found her in a red dress in the middle of a party. She was dancing as if she had never known what a wheelchair was in her life. When she turned and saw me at the door, her face turned whiter than the wall. And at that moment, she realized the game was over. But I was just getting started. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments." The phone's piercing ring dragged me from sleep. I fumbled for it in the darkness, squinting at the screen. Lottie. My daughter's name glowing there felt strange. We hadn't spoken in months. Dad, I can't feel my legs." Her voice came through broken, sobbing, each word fighting past something raw in her throat. I sat up fast, my heart already hammering. "Where are you? Are you in a hospital?" "Las Vegas. There was an accident. The car," she gasped, trying to control her breathing. "They say my spine. They're saying I might never walk again." The words hit like a fist. My daughter, paralyzed. I swung my legs over the side of the bed, already reaching for the lamp. "I'm coming there right now." "No!" Her voice shot up, panicked. "No, don't come. I can't let you see me like this." I wanted to argue, but the pain in her voice stopped me. She was crying again, that desperate sound a parent never forgets, no matter how much distance has grown between you. "Lottie, you need family right now. I should be there. Please, not yet. I need time to process this first. I'll call you tomorrow when I know more." The line went dead. I sat there in the darkness of my bedroom, phone still glowing in my hand, staring at nothing. The screen went black. Sleep was impossible after that. By the time gray dawn light crept through my kitchen window, I'd been sitting at the table for hours, my coffee grown cold, my laptop open to articles about spinal cord injuries. The medical terminology swam together: vertebrae, paralysis, rehabilitation. None of it made the reality any easier. My phone rang again just after sunrise. Lottie's name appeared, and this time her voice was more composed, though exhaustion ran through every word. "The specialists say I need 24-hour care during rehabilitation. Insurance covers the hospital, but not the nurses I need at home." "How much?" She hesitated. $6,000. For the first month. "I know it's a lot, but I'll take care of it today." "Thank you, Dad." Her voice broke again. "I'm so sorry to ask. I wouldn't if there was any other way. You're my daughter. Don't apologize." I got dressed as soon as the bank opened, moving through familiar Phoenix streets that somehow felt different now. Everything looked sharper, more urgent. At the counter, I transferred $6,000 from my retirement savings. The teller glanced up at me. "Everything okay today, Mr. Edwards?" "Family emergency." She nodded and processed the transaction without further questions. I watched the numbers change on the screen. 35 years of careful saving. And I just sent a chunk of it away in minutes. But I didn't flinch. She was my daughter. That afternoon, Violet found me sitting on my front porch. My neighbor had a way of appearing exactly when something was wrong. She settled into the chair beside me, her brown eyes studying my face. "You look troubled, Eldon." I told her about Lottie, the accident, the paralysis, the money I'd sent. Violet listened quietly, her expression shifting from shock to sympathy. "That's terrible. I'm so sorry. When are you flying out to see her?" "She doesn't want me there yet. Says she's not ready for me to see her this way." Violet was quiet for a moment, choosing her words carefully. I suppose everyone handles trauma differently. But if my child couldn't walk, I'd want them close. And they'd want me there." Something in her tone made me defensive. "She's an adult. I have to respect her wishes." "Of course." Violet reached over and touched my arm. "I'm sure she just needs time." After she left, I sat alone with my phone in my hand. I typed out a text asking if I could visit, then stared at it for a long time before deleting every word. Instead, I sent the transfer confirmation with a simple message. Sent. Call if you need anything else. Evening found me in my home office, reviewing my bank account online. The transfer had gone through. My balance was lighter now, but Lottie would get the care she needed. That's what mattered. My phone buzzed. A text from Lottie. Received. Thank you so much. I love you, Dad. I hadn't heard those words in a long time. They settled somewhere in my chest, uncomfortable and warm at once. I typed back, "Focus on healing." Another buzz, photo attachment loading. I clicked it. A blurry image of medical documents appeared, the words impossible to read in the poor lighting. I leaned closer to the screen, adjusted my reading glasses, tried zooming in. The text stayed frustratingly out of focus. I squinted at the screen, moving my glasses up and down, trying to bring the words into focus. The medical document sat on my desk, where I'd printed it at 3 in the morning, still unable to make sense of the terminology. I called Lottie as soon as I thought she'd be awake. "I got your document. Can you explain what the doctors said exactly?" Her voice sounded tired, strained. "It's complicated. Something about the L4 and L5 vertebrae. They use so many technical terms I can barely remember them all. And the rehabilitation. What does that involve?" "Physical therapy, specialized equipment. The nurses help me with everything. Transfers, exercises, daily care." She sounded exhausted, and I didn't push further. But the document sat on my desk for days afterward, the medical jargon still indecipherable. February passed. Another call came. Another $6,000 needed. I made the transfer without hesitation, though the bank teller recognized me now and said nothing as she processed it. By March, I was adjusting. I stood in the grocery store, holding the expensive coffee I usually bought, then put it back and grabbed the store brand instead. Small changes. Dinner with my retired firefighter friends got postponed. I told them I was dealing with family issues. They understood. At home, I ate canned soup straight from the pot, crackers on the side. My laptop stayed open on the kitchen table, budget spreadsheet glowing. 35 years fighting fires, and I'd lived within my means. The savings were supposed to last me through retirement. Now I was watching them drain away $6,000 at a time. April brought another call. Lottie's voice started casual, almost light. "The physical therapist suggested this new technique. It's expensive, but, Dad, the progress I'm making is incredible." "How much?" A pause, then quickly, "2,000. I know I already asked for so much. Send me the details. You're the best father. I don't know what I'd do without you." After we hung up, I sat with the phone in my hand, staring at my account balance. The number kept shrinking. But she was my daughter, and she was hurt. And what else was I supposed to do? May arrived with evidence. Photos came through. Lottie in bed, camera angled so I couldn't see much, just her face and the pillow behind her. Voice messages updated me on progress. Today, I could move my toes. She sounded genuinely excited, and that excitement carried me through another transfer. More medical documents arrived via email. I saved them all in a folder on my desktop, a growing collection of pages I couldn't fully understand. Early June, Violet dropped by while I was reviewing paperwork at my coffee table. Medical documents spread across the surface. She glanced down at them, professionally curious. She'd been a nurse before retiring. "What are these for?" I explained. Showed her some of Lottie's documents. Violet picked one up, studying it quietly. Her expression changed, subtle, but I noticed. "Has Lottie mentioned which hospital she's at?" "She's home now. These are from the initial evaluation." Violet paused, her fingers tracing over the text. "Eldon, I don't want to overstep, but some of these terms aren't quite right." My shoulders stiffened. "What do you mean?" "This one here, bilateral locomotive dysfunction. That's not standard medical terminology. And this letterhead," she squinted at it. "I don't recognize the clinic name. Maybe it's a Nevada facility you're not familiar with." She set the document down carefully, her hand resting on my shoulder. "Maybe. Be careful, okay? People sometimes take advantage during medical crises." After she left, I stared at the papers differently. Picked up my laptop and searched for the clinic name. Nothing came up. Searched the medical terms, got confusing, contradictory results. I sat back in my chair, hands clasped, thinking hard. I picked up my phone 3 times to call Lottie and demand clearer answers. Each time, I set it back down. She was my daughter. She needed help. What kind of father would I be if I questioned her now? But the doubt had taken root. Several days later, mid-June, I pulled out every document Lottie had sent, spread them across my dining table, counted up the total in my spreadsheet. $30,000. 15% of my life savings. 5 months of, "Can you send more?" 5 months of blurry photos and vague updates. 5 months of excuses why I couldn't visit. A fire chief learns to trust his instincts about when something's wrong. Mine were screaming now. I looked at the photos again, studying them more carefully. The angles were always odd. The medical documents used strange phrasing. The clinic didn't exist online. And my daughter, my own daughter, wouldn't let me see her. I pulled up GPS directions on my phone. Phoenix to Las Vegas, 297 miles, about 5 hours of driving. I didn't call first, didn't text, just pulled out my overnight bag and started packing. A change of clothes, toiletries, nothing elaborate. I set the alarm for 5 in the morning. The drive would take about 5 hours. If I left early enough, I'd arrive by mid-morning, unexpected, unannounced. She'd told me 100 times not to come, that she wasn't ready. But $30,000 had bought me the right to see my daughter. I lay awake that night, watching the ceiling fan turn slowly in the darkness. In 7 hours, I'd be on the road to Las Vegas. In 12 hours, I'd know the truth. The truck's engine turned over in the darkness, breaking the pre-dawn quiet of my street. I'd packed light, 1 bag, a thermos of coffee, and a determination that had kept me awake most of the night. The drive to Las Vegas would take 5 hours if I kept to the speed limit. I planned to keep to the speed limit. $30,000 had bought me the right to show up unannounced. If Lottie was truly paralyzed, she'd need her father there. If she wasn't, well, I'd know soon enough. The highway stretched empty before me, headlights cutting through the pre-dawn gray. I left the radio off, just the hum of tires on asphalt, the occasional semi-truck passing in the opposite direction. Hours passed. Saguaro cacti gave way to Joshua trees, then to empty scrubland. I stopped once outside Kingman for gas, exchanged brief pleasantries with the attendant, and got back on the road. I ran through scenarios as I drove. Best case, she'd made miraculous progress and was too excited to call me first. Worst case, Violet was right to be suspicious. My hands stayed steady on the wheel. 35 years fighting fires had taught me to stay calm before walking into danger. The desert gave way to development. Houses appeared, then clusters of buildings. The city rose out of the wasteland like a mirage, glass towers catching the afternoon sun. I'd been here twice before, once for Lottie's wedding, once for a firefighters' convention. Henderson was on the southeast side. I made 2 stops before heading to her address. First, a flower shop, bought sunflowers, her favorite since she was a girl. Then a drugstore for practical items, hand sanitizer, comfortable socks, puzzle books, things someone recovering might need. Part of me still hoped I was wrong. Part of me was still playing the caring father. I asked the clerk for directions to the address. She circled a section on my map, said it was about 15 minutes away. Darkness had fallen by the time I navigated into the neighborhood. Quiet residential area, apartment complexes interspersed with small houses. Most windows were dark or dimly lit. I followed street numbers, getting closer, and then I heard it. Music. Loud music, bass thumping, audible from a block away. I slowed the truck, checking the address against my GPS. The sound was coming from Lottie's building. 2nd floor corner unit, lights blazing from every window. Through the sliding glass door, silhouettes moved against bright interior lights. People. Multiple people. I parked on the street, sat in my truck for a moment. The music pulsed through my closed windows. Someone laughed, high, carefree. A party. My daughter, who supposedly couldn't walk, was hosting a party. Or maybe Otis was hosting it without her knowledge. Maybe she was in a back bedroom, unaware. Maybe. I reached for the key she'd given me a year ago, still on my key ring, grabbed the flowers and care package from the passenger seat. The summer night air hit me as I stepped out. Hot, still. Cigarette smoke drifted from somewhere nearby. I crossed the parking lot, climbed the exterior stairs. The music grew louder with each step. When I reached the door, I could see more clearly through the window beside it. People holding drinks, laughing, conversations happening in clusters, expensive clothes, wine glasses catching the light. My hand went to the doorknob. Locked. I slid the key into the lock. It turned smoothly. The music was loud enough that no one would hear the door open. I pushed it inward and stepped inside. The apartment was packed. 15 people, maybe more, scattered through the living room and kitchen. Wine glasses, beer bottles. The furniture was new, leather couch, large flat-screen television mounted on the wall. The smell of expensive alcohol and perfume filled the space. I stood in the entryway, still holding the flowers and care package. No one had noticed me yet. They were too busy talking, drinking, enjoying themselves. And then I saw her. Center of the living room, a bright red cocktail dress, the kind she used to wear when she was younger. Hair professionally styled, makeup perfect. Champagne glass in one hand, the other arm raised above her head. And she was dancing, actually dancing, moving her hips to the music, laughing at something someone had said. Completely, perfectly mobile. Someone near the kitchen noticed me first. Tapped another person's shoulder, pointed. That person stopped talking mid-sentence, eyes widening. The effect rippled outward. Conversations died. Heads turned. Someone reached for the music controls. The music cut out abruptly. In the sudden silence, Lottie's laugh echoed once, then died. She turned toward the door, toward me. Her face went white. The champagne glass froze halfway to her lips. For 3 long seconds, neither of us moved. I stood perfectly still. 35 years of training had taught me to stay calm in crisis. I drew on every bit of that training now. My eyes moved across the room. Those bottles on the counter, top shelf, $70 each. 5 of them, opened. The television, 80 inches, probably $3,000. Leather furniture, brand new. Her dress, designer label visible at the neckline. The champagne in her glass, Dom Perignon. $6,000 a month for 5 months. $30,000 total. This room held at least $15,000 in purchases made while she'd claimed to be bedridden. I took one slow step into the room. Lottie's hand trembled, champagne sloshing against the rim of her glass. Still, neither of us spoke. Someone pushed through the crowd behind her. Male. I recognized him from photos. Otis, her husband. He was smiling, but it was the kind of smile I'd seen before on people who'd just realized their house was burning down. Otis moved fast. Before Lottie could speak, he was there beside her, one hand on her elbow, that smile still plastered across his face. "Eldon, what a surprise! We weren't expecting you." He paused, then continued quickly. "We were just celebrating. The most amazing thing happened." He kept his body between me and Lottie, hand squeezing her elbow hard enough that I saw her wince. He was sweating slightly despite the air conditioning. "The doctors called this morning. Lottie's been making incredible progress. They cleared her to try walking again. And she did it. She walked." He turned to Lottie, prompting her. "Right, honey? Tell your dad." Lottie's voice came out weak, unsteady. "Dad, yes, it happened so fast." She set the champagne glass down on a nearby table with shaking hands, tried to smile. "I wanted to call you, but we wanted to be sure first. The doctor said sometimes there can be setbacks." Her words trailed off as she saw my expression. "It just happened this morning. I took a few steps, and then a few more. We were so excited we decided to celebrate with friends." She reached toward me. "I'm sorry I didn't call right away. I know I should have." I didn't speak. My eyes continued their inventory. The bottles, the television, the furniture, the designer clothes on both of them, the champagne, the catered food spread across the kitchen counter. $30,000, 5 months of lies, photos of fake medical documents that Violet had spotted, voice messages with theatrical tears, all of it calculated. Someone near the door mumbled, "We should probably go." Others quickly agreed. The exodus began, people grabbing coats, purses, filing past me. I didn't move. They squeezed around me, offering awkward congratulations to Lottie on her recovery. Within 2 minutes, the apartment was empty except for the 3 of us. The only sound was the air conditioning humming. I still hadn't moved from near the entrance, still holding the flowers and care package. Lottie wrapped her arms around herself, looking to Otis for help. Otis cleared his throat, his jovial mask slipping. "Look, Eldon, I know this must be confusing." He took a step toward me. "But this really is good news. Lottie's recovery. Recovery. Just that one word. Flat. Cold. What did the doctors say exactly? Which hospital? I'd like to call them and get the details." Lottie's words tumbled out in a panic. "It was the clinic, the same one I've been going to. They said something about nerve regeneration. I don't remember all the terms. It happened so suddenly I could barely believe it myself." Show me the medical report. Silence. Otis's voice had an edge now. We don't have it here. They're mailing it? Of course. I looked around the room again, then back at them. I've sent you $30,000 over 5 months. I gestured to the furniture, the television, the bottles. I see where some of it went. My eyes found Lottie's. You were never paralyzed. She tried tears. Dad, no, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. I walked forward slowly, set the flowers on the coffee table next to her abandoned champagne glass, set the care package beside them. Congratulations on your miracle. I turned toward the door. Hey, wait a minute. Otis's anger was showing now, his true colors emerging. He stepped toward me, aggressive posture. You can't just accuse us. Even if things weren't exactly like we said, you can't prove anything. It's your word against ours. He crossed his arms. So, she exaggerated a little about her condition. So what? You wanted to help your daughter. That's what fathers do. No one forced you to send that money. I stopped at the door, didn't turn around, spoke over my shoulder. You're right. No one forced me. Pause. But that doesn't mean there won't be consequences. I opened the door, stepped into the night, and closed it quietly behind me. Inside, I heard Lottie's voice rise in panic. He knows everything. What are we going to do? Otis's response was muffled but dismissive. Calm down. He's upset, but he can't do anything. What's he going to do? Sue his own daughter? Call the police? It's not illegal to accept money from your father. You said this would work. You said he'd never find out. Relax. Old man's too proud to make a scene. Too embarrassed to admit he was fooled. He'll cool off, and this will blow over. Trust me. Their voices faded as I descended the stairs. I drove through the night, 4 hours of empty highway. Darkness broken only by occasional headlights passing in the opposite direction. The anger was there, beneath the surface, but anger without purpose was useless. I'd learned that fighting fires, panic and rage got people killed. Cold assessment and strategic action saved lives. $30,000, 5 months of lies, photos of medical documents that Violet had spotted as fake, voice messages with theatrical tears, all of it calculated, planned. Lottie hadn't done this alone. Otis had his fingerprints all over it. The expensive furniture, the casual cruelty in his voice when he said, "No one forced you to send that money." He'd used my daughter to rob me, or she'd used him as an excuse. Either way, they'd worked together. I had 4 hours to think, 4 hours to plan. By the time I crossed back into Arizona, I knew what needed to happen next. The sun was rising as I pulled into my driveway. I sat in the truck for a moment, engine still running, and pulled out my phone. First step, I needed proof. Every transfer, every text message, every photo. I opened my banking app and started downloading transaction records. I sat at my desk as the sun rose outside my window. My phone was already open to my banking app. I started downloading transaction records, saving each one with methodical precision. February 6,000, March 6,000, April 6,000. The list went on. 35 years as a fire chief had taught me one thing: document everything. Every incident report, every safety violation, every piece of evidence. A case built on emotion falls apart. A case built on documentation stands. I saved all text messages from Lottie, every manipulative word, every fake tear, the photos she'd sent, the supposed proof of her paralysis. I created a folder on my computer labeled evidence and printed everything. 3-hole punched, filed, old school but effective. The first few days after I returned, Lottie started texting. I read every message but didn't respond. Dad, I know you're upset. I should have called you right away about my recovery. I'm sorry. 3 days later, Dad, please, I know I messed up not telling you sooner. Can we talk? Day 5. Dad, you're scaring me. Are you okay? Please just let me know you're all right. Then Otis started calling. I let it go to voicemail. His message was brief, dismissive. Hey Eldon, it's Otis. Lottie's really worried about you. Give us a call when you can. I maintained complete silence. Each ignored message was strategic, not emotional. Let them worry. Let them wonder. Fear is a powerful motivator. Right now, they didn't know if I was planning legal action, telling other family members, or simply done with them forever. That uncertainty was useful. A few days after I returned, I invited Violet over. She arrived mid-morning, found me at my kitchen table with documents spread across the surface. "You said these looked wrong. I need you to tell me exactly what's wrong with them." She sat down, put on her reading glasses, picked up each document, studied it carefully, made notes on a pad of paper I'd provided. Her expression grew increasingly troubled. "Where did these come from? Which hospital?" "That's what Lottie sent me, said it was from her treatment in Las Vegas." She shook her head. "Eldon, this isn't real. Look at this letterhead. The font's wrong. The logo is pixelated. This was made on a computer." "What about the medical terminology?" "Some of it's correct, but it's mixed with made-up terms. Bilateral locomotive dysfunction. That's not a real diagnosis. Someone searched medical terms online and threw them together." I pushed the notepad toward her. "Can you write that down? Your professional assessment?" She understood immediately. "You're building a case. I'm documenting facts." She wrote a brief statement. "As a registered nurse with 30 years' experience, I can confirm these documents contain fabricated medical terminology and fraudulent formatting. They do not match any legitimate medical facility's documentation standards." She signed it, dated it. I added it to my evidence folder. A week after the confrontation, I searched online for private investigators in Las Vegas, found a reputable service with solid reviews, filled out their form with specific questions. Financial status of Otis Collins and Lottie Edwards Collins, employment history, property ownership, recent major purchases. The cost was $800, a fraction of what they'd stolen. I paid via credit card without hesitation. The confirmation email arrived, report within 7-10 business days. The next week moved slowly. I went through my routines, morning coffee, afternoon walk around the neighborhood, evening news. But every day I checked my email, waiting. 10 days later, the notification came. "Your investigation report is ready." I downloaded the PDF and started reading. The investigator had been thorough. Otis Collins, real estate agent, Desert Dreams, Realty Las Vegas, average annual income, $48,000. Currently on probation for missed sales targets. Lottie Edwards Collins, manager, Serenity Spa, Henderson. Annual salary, $52,000. Combined household income, approximately $100,000 per year. Outstanding gambling debts, $45,000. Verified through 3 separate collections agencies. Credit card debt, $23,000 across 4 cards. Car loans, $38,000 for 2 vehicles. Total debt, $106,000. Residence, rented apartment, Henderson. Monthly rent, $2,400. No property ownership, no significant assets. Recent purchases, $18,000 in luxury items over the last 6 months, tracked through credit card records. Additional notes, subject Otis Collins has been banned from 2 major Las Vegas casinos due to unpaid markers. Financial pressure appears significant, living well beyond means. I sat back in my chair. The picture was clear. They weren't just greedy. They were desperate. Drowning in debt, living on credit, spending money they didn't have. My $30,000 had been a lifeline they'd grabbed with both hands. Then I understood the real plan. They weren't just scamming me for $30,000. They were positioning themselves for the inheritance, my house, my savings. They were counting on me dying and leaving it all to Lottie. I pulled up real estate websites. My house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1,800 square feet in Tempe. The estimates range from $375,000 to $385,000. Call it $380,000. Add my remaining savings, $90,000 after their theft. Life insurance, another $100,000. Total estate value, roughly $570,000. That's what I was worth to them. Dead. The next day I called an attorney's office, estate planning specialist. The receptionist could fit me in at 2 o'clock. I said I'd be there. The drive downtown took 30 minutes. I parked in a garage, took the elevator to the 12th floor. Chen & Associates, Suite 1205. Professional office, wood desk, law degrees on wall, neat and organized. Hubert Chen was early 50s, composed, experienced demeanor. We shook hands. "Mr. Edwards, my assistant said you need to update your estate plan. I need to change my will, completely." He noted the tone in my voice. "I see. Why don't you tell me about your current situation? I have a daughter. She's been named as my sole beneficiary for the last 10 years. That needs to change. He pulled out a legal pad and pen. Let's start with the basics. What assets are we talking about? My house, worth about $380,000. Savings, $90,000. Life insurance, $100,000. Some personal property. He made notes. And you want to remove your daughter as beneficiary. May I ask why? I reached into my briefcase and pulled out the evidence folder. It had grown thick over the past 2 weeks. Bank statements, fake medical documents, Violet's assessment, the investigator's report. I set it on his desk. Hubert Chen opened the folder. He didn't speak for several minutes, just read through the documents one by one. Bank statements showing the transfers, screenshots of Lottie's manipulative texts, the fake medical records with Violet's professional assessment attached, the private investigator's report detailing their debts and spending. Finally, he closed the folder. This is clear-cut fraud. Wire fraud, actually. Federal offense. Have you contacted law enforcement? Not yet. I want other options in place first. He understood immediately. Smart. You want leverage. He paused. Let me be clear about what we can do here. First, we completely rewrite your will. Remove your daughter as beneficiary entirely. What happens to the estate instead? Whatever you want. You can leave it to charity, other family members, friends, or establish a trust. Most clients in your situation choose charitable donation. It's clean, can't be contested easily. What would you recommend? Given your career, firefighter pension, 35 years of service, what about a fund for families of fallen firefighters? It's meaningful, shows clear intent, demonstrates you're acting from principle, not spite. I considered this. The Phoenix Fire Department has a memorial fund for families of firefighters killed in the line of duty. Perfect. That's exactly the kind of beneficiary that makes a will challenge nearly impossible to win. We'll also prepare an affidavit, he continued, a sworn statement detailing the fraud, with all this evidence attached. You don't have to file it immediately, but having it ready gives you options. Options meaning? Meaning, if they try to challenge the will, you can show proof of why you disinherited her. Or, if you want to pursue criminal charges later, you have a documented timeline. Or, he paused, if you want to negotiate with them, you have significant leverage. Leverage. People react differently when they see formal legal documents. Sometimes a will change is enough to bring family members to the table. Depends on what you want the outcome to be. What I wanted was for them to understand there were consequences, that their actions had cost them not just my trust, but their inheritance, that the money they'd been counting on was gone. Hubert typed as we talked, asking questions, clarifying details. An hour passed, then another. The sun was lower in the sky by the time he printed out the final draft. I read through the new will carefully. Legal language, but clear enough. I, Eldon Edwards, being of sound mind and body, do hereby revoke all previous wills and codicils. To my daughter, Lottie Edwards Collins, I leave nothing. This is intentional and not an oversight. The entirety of my estate, including my residence, all financial assets and personal property, shall be transferred to the Phoenix Fire Department Memorial Fund to benefit families of firefighters killed in the line of duty. Hubert brought in 2 witnesses from his office, standard procedure, a middle-aged woman and a younger man. He stated this was my will, asked if I understood it, asked if I was signing freely. I confirmed each question. I initialed each page, then signed the final page with the heavy pen he provided. The witnesses signed. The notary stamp was applied. Hubert placed the original in a fireproof safe in his office. He handed me 2 copies, one for my records, one to keep at home in an accessible place. He also printed the affidavit, had me review and sign it. That went into a sealed envelope. The will is now active. If something happens to you, this is what will be executed. The affidavit stays sealed unless you decide to use it. How quickly would Lottie find out if something happened to me? When the will goes through probate, she'd be notified that she's not a beneficiary, could take a few weeks after death. So right now, she still thinks she's inheriting everything. He caught the implication. Yes, right now she has no idea this will exists. I shook his hand and took the elevator down. 12 floors to think. The will was changed. Lottie would get nothing, but that wasn't enough. They didn't know yet. They needed to know. But telling them directly would just put them on the defensive. I needed them to think they'd won. I needed them to believe I'd forgiven them, was still the easy mark they thought I was. I maintained the silence for another 2 weeks. Lottie's messages became more frequent, more anxious. Week 3, Dad, please, I'm really worried. Just tell me you're okay. I know you saw me walking and you're confused. I can explain everything if you just talk to me. Dad, you're scaring me. This isn't like you. Please. Then Otis again. Eldon, this silent treatment is childish. Lottie made a mistake not calling you right away. Get over it. I read every message immediately. Never responded. 3 weeks of silence. Long enough for them to be truly worried. Long enough that when I finally reached out, they'd be relieved, grateful. That's when I'd have them. I sat on my back porch in the late afternoon shade. Phoenix summer heat, but bearable. I held my phone, looked at Lottie's number. 3 weeks since I'd walked out of her apartment. I tapped the call button. She answered immediately, breathless. Dad? Dad, is that you? My voice was warm, slightly uncertain. Hi, sweetheart. Emotion flooded out of her. Oh my gosh, Dad, I've been so worried. Are you okay? Why didn't you answer my messages? I'm sorry, I needed some time to process everything. I know, I should have called you right away when I started recovering. I was just so scared to hope, you know? I didn't want to tell you I could walk again and then have it go away. I understand. It must have been overwhelming for you. Relief was evident in her voice. It was. Everything happened so fast. The doctors were shocked too. They called it, what did they call it, Otis? A muffled background voice. Right, they called it a remarkable recovery. I'm just glad you're better. That's what matters. I paused as if uncertain. Actually, I've been thinking about something. Can I tell you? Of course. Anything. I've been feeling lonely here in Phoenix. The house feels too big with just me. And after seeing you walking again, healthy, I realized life's too short to be apart from family. What do you mean? I'm thinking about moving to Las Vegas, being closer to you. We've lost enough time already. Silence on the other end. Then, really? You'd move here? I'm seriously considering it. I'd probably sell the house here. Use that money to buy something smaller near you. Maybe even help you and Otis with a down payment on a house. I know you're renting. She barely contained her excitement. Dad, that would be amazing. We'd love to have you close by. I haven't made any final decisions yet, but I wanted you to know I'm thinking about it. I've already talked to a real estate agent about what my house might be worth. And I kept my tone casual. Around $380,000. Not bad for a 30-year-old house in Tempe. I heard Otis in the background. Did he say 380? Dad, I'm so glad you called. I missed you. Missed you too, sweetheart. Let's talk more about this soon. I want to look at some properties in Vegas. Maybe you could help me. Her eagerness showed. Absolutely, whenever you want. Otis knows the market really well. He could help too. That would be great. I'll call you next week. I ended the call and set the phone on the table. Sat there in the quiet, listening to cicadas in the neighbor's tree. I'd done it. Delivered the performance perfectly. Warm, forgiving, slightly uncertain. Exactly what a lonely old man would sound like. An hour later, my phone buzzed. Text from Lottie. Dad, I'm so happy you called. I told Otis about your idea and he's excited too. He said he can show you some great properties when you visit. When do you think you might come out? Another buzz. Also, I know this is forward, but if you're serious about selling your house, Otis knows some investors who buy for cash. Could speed up the process if you're ready to move quickly. I stared at the messages. They weren't wasting any time. I replied, how about I visit in a couple of weeks? We can look at properties together. Her response came within seconds. Perfect. We'll clear our schedules. This is going to be so great, Dad. I locked my phone screen. The new will sat in my filing cabinet, signed and sealed. The affidavit was beside it. Phase 2 was underway. I called Lottie on a Tuesday morning in mid-July. The house was quiet, air conditioning humming against the summer heat. I'd spent the past week letting her send enthusiastic messages about Vegas properties, real estate opportunities, investment ideas. Now it was time to flip the script. Lottie, I've been thinking, instead of me coming to Vegas, why don't you and Otis come here? I want you to see the house, understand what we're working with. She sounded surprised but eager. Oh, sure, Dad. When were you thinking? How about this weekend? I've already contacted a realtor to give us an appraisal. Thought you'd want to be here for that. This weekend? That's really soon. I applied gentle pressure. Well, you said Otis knows investors who work fast. Figured we should move quickly if we're serious about this. She recovered fast. No, you're right. We'll be there. What day? I knew what I was doing, inviting them to my territory, where I controlled everything, where I could watch them, record them, see exactly who they were when they thought I wasn't looking. 2 days before their arrival, I installed the security cameras. Not obviously, I didn't want them to spot the cameras and behave differently. I chose small models, the kind that looked like smoke detectors or could be mistaken for cable boxes. One in the living room, angled to catch the main space. One in the hallway, covering the route to my office. 2 in my office, the room I suspected they'd search if given the opportunity. One aimed at my desk, one at the filing cabinet. I set them all to record continuously to cloud storage. If they asked about the cameras, I had my story ready. With the house going on the market, I wanted to protect against break-ins during showings. Perfectly reasonable. I tested each camera from my phone, clear video, good audio range. I walked through the house, watched myself on the screen. Everything worked. I'd spent 35 years documenting fires, what started them, how they spread, what evidence remained. This was the same principle. They pulled up Saturday afternoon in Otis's BMW, leased according to the investigator's report, payments 3 months behind. I watched from my front window as they got out. Lottie wore a sundress, too cheerful for the circumstances. Otis had on golf clothes, casual, expensive. I walked out with a warm smile. Lottie hugged me, testing whether I'd really forgiven her. I hugged back, reassuring her. Otis shook my hand firmly, called me Eldon with false familiarity. Dad, it's so good to see you. The house looks great. Come on in. I've got the AC running. It's a scorcher today. Otis looked around appraisingly. Great neighborhood. Good bones on this place. I'm already seeing buyer interest potential. That's what I'm hoping. Let me show you around. I deliberately mentioned valuable items as we toured. This was your mother's china cabinet. I'm keeping that, of course. Establishing what I valued. My office is down this hall. All my important documents are in there. Deed to the house, insurance policies, financial statements. Planting the seed. I usually keep the office locked when I have guests, but you're family. I watched Otis's eyes track the furniture, the electronics, calculating values. I watched Lottie touch things, the banister, a picture frame, as if she were already imagining it all belonging to her someday. The realtor arrived at 2, Janet Rodriguez from Southwest Premier Realty. Professional, experienced, no idea she was part of a larger plan. I'd told her I was considering selling, wanted a market analysis. She walked through the house, took notes, photos, measured rooms, checked condition, noted updates, kitchen remodel, new HVAC, roof age, examined yard, garage, overall property. Mr. Edwards, you've maintained this property beautifully. The market in Tempe is strong right now. What do you think it's worth? She consulted her notes. Based on comparable sales, square footage, location, and condition, I'd list it at $380,000. Could go higher if we get competing offers. Otis jumped in. That seems conservative. I've seen similar properties in this area go for $400,000. Janet remained professionally cool. Are you in real estate, Mr. Collins? I'm an agent in Las Vegas. I know the market. Nevada market is different from Phoenix, but you're welcome to get a second opinion. Otis sat forward when she said 380. I could practically see him calculating. After the realtor left, I asked, So, what do you think? Should I list it? It's your decision, Dad, but being closer to us would be wonderful. Otis nodded. $380,000. After agent fees and closing costs, you'd walk away with about $360,000. Solid nest egg for starting fresh in Vegas. I took them to Manuel's, a Mexican place I'd been going to for 20 years. We sat on the patio under misters that fought the heat. I talked about Lottie's childhood, memories of the house, mentioned my retirement being boring sometimes, discussed what I'd do with myself in Vegas. Then I dropped the bait. You know, I've been thinking, after I sell the house, after I set aside money for a place in Vegas, I'll have capital sitting around. Maybe I should do something with it. Otis became immediately alert. What kind of something? I don't know, an investment, maybe even a business. I've always wanted to be more than just a firefighter pension. Dad, that's a great idea. Otis tried to sound casual. What kind of business interests you? Once the opening was there, he pounced. Actually, Eldon, I've been working on something. Real estate agency, my own firm. Vegas market is hot, but startup capital is the issue. With your investment and my expertise, we could build something real. I run the operations, you're a silent partner collecting returns. How much were you thinking of investing? I kept my tone thoughtful, uncommitted. I'd have to see a business plan, but hypothetically, maybe 100,000. His eyes lit up. 100,000 would be perfect. We could secure office space, hire agents, launch with real momentum. Let me think about it. I'd want Lottie involved too, maybe as office manager. Lottie's excitement was genuine. Really, Dad, that would be amazing. We could be in business together, a family enterprise. I let this sink in. But I'd need to see detailed plans, legal documents, the whole structure. Of course, I'll put together a complete proposal. When do you think you'd decide? Give me a few weeks. I want to be smart about this. We got back to the house around 5. The sun was lower, but still brutal outside. I'm going to run to the store, grab some steaks for dinner and some beer. You two relax, cool off. I'll be back in 30 minutes. We can come with you, I waved her off. No need, you've been driving all day. Rest. TV remote's on the coffee table. Help yourself to anything in the fridge. I didn't go far, just the grocery store 3 blocks away. But I took my time, gave them 45 minutes alone in my house. In the store parking lot, I pulled up the security camera app on my phone. The living room camera showed them sitting on the couch at first, talking. Then Otis stood up. I watched them walk toward the hallway, both of them heading toward my office, entering the office. Otis going straight to the filing cabinet, Lottie standing watch at the door, Otis pulling open drawers, shuffling through papers, taking out his phone, photographing documents. I sat in my truck, watching them search my office, looking for my will, my bank statements, anything that would tell them exactly what they stood to inherit. I felt nothing but cold satisfaction. I waited until they'd finished and returned to the living room, gave them time to compose themselves. Then I walked in with grocery bags, acting like nothing was wrong. Got some good steaks and cold beer. Lottie looked slightly flushed, guilty. Otis was casual, but his energy was different, excited, satisfied. During dinner, Otis fished for information. So, Eldon, do you have life insurance? Important to think about at our age. I knew exactly what he was doing. Some. Through the fire department. Nothing huge. You should consider more. A man with your assets. Maybe. Haven't really thought about it. They left after dinner with warm hugs and promises to talk soon. I'll have that business proposal to you next week, Otis said. I closed the door and went straight to my office, pulled up the security footage on my laptop, watched the whole thing in high definition. 43 minutes of them searching my space. Otis photographing my bank statements, Lottie checking my desk drawers. I downloaded the footage, backed it up to 3 separate locations, added it to the evidence folder that kept growing thicker. Then I opened my email and started typing to Hubert Chen. Need to meet, have video evidence. They took the bait. The week after their visit, the messages started. At first, 1 or 2 a day. Otis sending business plan drafts, Lottie asking when I'd make a decision. By the end of the week, I was getting 5, 6 messages daily. The pressure was building. Day 1. Working on that business proposal. Should have it to you by Wednesday. Day 3. Proposal attached. Let me know your thoughts. Day 5. Dad, did you get a chance to look at Otis's plan? Day 7. Haven't heard back. Everything okay? I read every message, responded to some, ignored others, always delayed, never committed. I wanted to see how far they'd push. In firefighting, we had a term, flashover, when a room gets so hot that everything ignites at once. I could feel them approaching that point. The more I stalled, the more desperate they'd become. Desperate people make mistakes. The business proposal was 12 pages, looked professional at first glance, formatted nicely, some stock photos of office buildings. But the numbers didn't add up. Startup costs, vague estimates, revenue projections, wildly optimistic. My investment, $100,000. Otis's investment, $5,000, and sweat equity. Profit split, 50-50, even though I'd be putting in 95% of the capital. My role, silent partner, meaning no control. His role, managing partner with full operational authority. It was a scam dressed up in business language. He wanted my 100,000 with no oversight, no accountability, and equal profit sharing, despite contributing almost nothing. I typed my response. Otis, got the proposal. Looks interesting. I want my attorney to review it before I commit to anything this substantial. Will take a few weeks. Talk soon. Eldon. Within minutes. Absolutely smart move, but don't wait too long. I have other potential investors interested. Classic pressure tactic. Lottie shifted tactics from business to emotion. Her messages grew more manipulative. Week 1. Dad, I know I messed up with not telling you about my recovery right away. This business could be a way for us to move forward together. I feel terrible about everything. Working with you would help me feel like I'm making things right. Week 2. I lie awake at night, thinking about how much I hurt you. Please give us this chance to prove we're family. You've always been there for me. Now I want to be there for you. This business is about us being partners, equals. It's about trust. Every message was calculated, every word chosen to manipulate. Making things right. Trust. Family? She was using my feelings against me, or trying to. She didn't know those feelings had frozen solid the night I saw her dancing. I gave them just enough hope to keep them pushing. Each message she sent was more evidence of the manipulation. Each guilt trip, each false emotion. I saved it all. Otis started calling more frequently, creating false deadlines, manufacturing urgency. Early August, first call. Eldon, I need to know where you stand. I've got 2 other investors interested, but I'd rather work with family. I'm still having my attorney review everything. What's there to review? It's straightforward. You invest, we build, we profit. Simple. I like to be thorough. His voice had an edge. Thorough is fine, but opportunities don't wait forever. Mid-August, second call. The Vegas Real Estate Licensing Board has faster approval before September. If we don't file paperwork by end of August, we're delayed until October. I knew this was likely false, but didn't challenge it. That's tight timing, which is why I need your commitment. We can meet in Vegas on the 25th, sign preliminary documents, get the ball rolling. Then came the living arrangement suggestion. Another thought. You said you're selling the house anyway. Why not move in with us temporarily? We have space, you'd save on rent, and we can work on the business together. They wanted me close where they could monitor and control. Lottie jumped in on speaker. Yes, Dad, we'd love that. You could stay as long as you need. Let me sell the house first, see where I stand financially. But the August 25th meeting works. I can come to Vegas, review the final paperwork. Their excitement was immediate. They thought they were winning. I met with Hubert Chen again, mid-August, showed him all new evidence, messages, business proposal, security footage. They're pushing for a meeting on the 25th to sign business documents. He reviewed the evidence. But you're going to present them with something very different. Exactly. I want to offer them a choice. Acknowledge the debt and repay it, or face fraud charges. We'll need a formal debt acknowledgement agreement, notarized, legally binding. Can we include the security footage? Show them I have proof of their snooping? We can present it. It supports the fraud case, shows intent and consciousness of guilt. They were looking for what they could inherit. Hubert drafted 2 documents. A debt acknowledgement form requiring $30,000 repayment over 3 years, and a formal complaint ready to file with Las Vegas Metro Police detailing wire fraud. The choice would be theirs. You're letting them think they're about to get your $100,000 investment, then hitting them with $30,000 in debt they owe you. The reversal will be devastating. That's the point. They need to understand there are consequences. The final week before August 25th, their messages became confident. Dad, I can't wait for next week. This is going to change everything for all of us. Got the preliminary partnership documents ready. Just need your signature, and we're in business. I've been looking at office spaces, found a perfect location. Once you transfer the investment, we can secure it immediately. Also lined up 3 agents ready to join us. Your $100,000 is going to turn into serious money, Eldon. They were talking as if the money was already theirs. Not if, but when. They'd convinced themselves they'd won. I sent a simple message. See you on the 25th. I'll be there by 2 p.m. Let's make this official. Can't wait. Love you, Dad. Perfect. I'll have everything ready. This is going to be great, Eldon. I booked a hotel room in Vegas for the night of the 24th. Packed the evidence folder, now 4 inches thick. Confirmed with Hubert Chen, He'd provided me with a notary referral in Vegas, someone who could witness signatures if they agreed to the debt repayment plan. The night before, messages kept coming. Late evening. Can't sleep. Too excited for tomorrow. Everything's ready. Tomorrow we become partners. To new beginnings. I could imagine them in their apartment, celebrating, counting my money before they had it, making plans for the office space, the staff, the lifestyle. They had no idea I'd spent the last month building an airtight case. They didn't know about the new will, didn't know I had them on camera searching my office, didn't know the documents I'd be presenting tomorrow had nothing to do with business investments and everything to do with fraud, debt, and consequences. I woke up early on August 25th, ate breakfast, showered, dressed in business casual, button-down shirt, slacks. Professional. This was a business meeting, just not the business they expected. I double-checked my briefcase, the evidence folder, the debt acknowledgement agreement, the affidavit detailing their fraud, copies of the change will, printed security camera footage, everything I needed. The drive to Vegas took 5 hours. I'd made this trip twice before, once in June when I discovered their lie, once in July for the weekend visit. This time felt different. This time, I was ending it. I thought about that phone call in February, Lottie crying about being paralyzed. 8 months ago. 8 months of lies, manipulation, theft. 8 months of them thinking I was their mark. 8 months of me building a case. I reached Las Vegas by early afternoon, checked into my hotel, changed my shirt, reviewed my documents one final time. At 1:30, I got in my truck and drove to their apartment, the same complex where I'd discovered the truth back in June, full circle. I parked, gathered my briefcase, and walked to their door. Through the window, I could see them inside, laughing, relaxed, confident. I knocked. The door opened. Lottie stood there, smile bright, dressed professionally, skirt and blouse, as if this were a real business meeting. "Dad, come in!" She hugged me. I returned it briefly, mechanically. Over her shoulder, I could see Otis standing by their dining table, which was covered with papers. He wore a button-down shirt, looked ready to close a deal. "We're so excited! Come in, come in! Can I get you something to drink? Water? Iced tea?" "Water would be fine." Otis shook my hand confidently. "Good to see you, Eldon. Everything's ready. This is going to be great." I walked in, carrying my briefcase, glanced at their dining table, papers spread out, a notary stamp visible, pens lined up. They'd staged this carefully, a performance of legitimacy. A man sat in their living room, late 30s, casual clothes, nervous energy. Otis gestured to him. "This is Derek. He's a notary public, going to witness our signatures, make everything official." Derek didn't look like any notary I'd ever seen. No official stamp visible, no identification displayed. But I didn't say anything yet. Otis spread papers across the table. "Here's the partnership agreement. Pretty straightforward. You're investing $100,000 as capital partner. I'm managing partner with operational control." He pointed to signature lines. "Your signature here, here, and here. Initial here for the financial terms." Lottie added, "And I'll be signing on as office manager. We're all in this together. Your $100,000 gets us started. Office space, licensing, initial operating capital. Profit split is 50-50 after expenses. I handle all day-to-day operations. You're silent partner. We're projecting 20% returns first year, 30% by year 3. I picked up the papers, flipped through them slowly, read sections carefully. Let the silence stretch. They watched me, barely containing their excitement. Lottie kept glancing at Otis. He had his game face on, but I could see the anticipation. They thought this was happening. Thought in the next 10 minutes I'd sign papers giving them control of $100,000. I set down their papers, didn't pick up a pen. Instead, I opened my briefcase and pulled out my tablet. Otis's smile faltered. "Eldon, the documents are all here. We just need signatures. Before we sign anything, there's something you need to see." I turned the tablet toward them, pressed play on the video file. Security footage from my Phoenix house. Date stamp visible, July 15th. The video showed me leaving. "I'm going to the store. You two relax." Lottie looked confused. "Dad, what is this?" Then the footage showed them getting up, walking to my office, opening my filing cabinet. Crystal clear video. Otis pulling out documents, photographing them with his phone. Lottie standing watch at the door. I let the video play. 43 minutes condensed to 3 minutes of key moments. Them searching my desk, opening drawers, photographing my bank statements, my insurance policies, looking for my will. The room was completely silent except for the video playback. I installed security cameras before you visited. You were in my office for 43 minutes. You photographed 12 different documents, including my financial statements and will. Dad, we were just looking for what you'd inherit when I died. I know. I swiped to the next file. Here are the medical documents you sent me, the ones claiming you were paralyzed. Showed Violet's written assessment. These are fraudulent. The terminology is incorrect. The letterhead is fake. No, those were real. The hospital, there was no hospital. You were never paralyzed. I saw you dancing at a party, remember? Next screen, spreadsheet of transfers. $30,000 transferred between February and June, $6,000 a month for 5 months. I traced my finger down the list. February 16th, March 18th, April 20th, May 15th, June 12th. Every transfer made because you lied about being paralyzed. I hired an investigator, showed the report. $45,000 in gambling debts, $18,000 in luxury purchases during the months I was sending you money. Otis tried to sound defensive. You investigated us? You stole from me. Yes, I investigated. I pulled out a printed document. This is my will. The old one left everything to Lottie. This is the new one, executed on July 6th. I read from it. To my daughter, Lottie Edwards Collins, I leave nothing. This is intentional and not an oversight. The entirety of my estate shall be transferred to the Phoenix Fire Department Memorial Fund. Let that sink in. You were waiting for me to die so you could inherit my house, my savings. That inheritance no longer exists. Lottie was crying now. Dad, please. I'm not finished. Final document. This is a sworn affidavit detailing your fraud. Wire fraud specifically. Federal offense. I have all the evidence attached. The fake medical documents, the bank transfers, security footage, investigator's report. It's notarized, witnessed, and ready to file with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department and the FBI. Derek had quietly left during my presentation. I spoke coldly, precisely. You have 2 choices. Let me be very clear about both. First option, I file this affidavit today. Wire fraud in Nevada is a Category B felony. That carries a sentence of 1 to 10 years in state prison and fines up to $10,000. I have more than enough evidence to secure a conviction. You'd both be charged. Otis tried to maintain composure. You wouldn't do that to your own daughter? She stole $30,000 from me using an elaborate lie about being paralyzed. Yes, I would. Second option, you sign a debt acknowledgement agreement. You admit you owe me $30,000 and agree to repay it. $835 per month for 36 months. The agreement is legally binding, notarized, and enforceable. Miss a payment, I can pursue collection through courts. You also agree to never contact me again. No calls, no texts, no emails, no visits. Complete separation. There was a knock at the door. That's the notary I hired. Legitimate notary. If you choose option 2, she'll witness your signatures. Otis tried to negotiate. That's not reasonable. We can't afford. Then choose option 1. I'll file the paperwork today. You'll be arrested within a week. Pause. You have 5 minutes to decide, Lottie whispered to Otis urgently. He tried once more. What if we paid half? 15,000? 30,000. That's what you took. That's what you'll repay. Over 5 years instead of 3? 3 years. Those are the terms. Take them or I file charges. 4 minutes. I watched Otis's face, saw the calculation, the measuring of options, prison or debt, fraud conviction or monthly payments. Lottie pleaded desperately. Dad, please, we made a mistake. Don't do this. You didn't make a mistake. You planned this. You lied for 5 months. You stole $30,000. Those weren't mistakes. Those were choices. Now you live with consequences. Otis's voice was defeated. We'll sign. I opened the door. Maria Chen entered with her official kit, stamp, identification, witness log. I'm Maria Chen, Commission Notary Public for the state of Nevada. I understand we have a debt acknowledgement agreement to witness? That's correct. I handed her the document. She reviewed it professionally, confirmed all parties present, checked IDs, set up her notary stamp on the dining table, laid out the document. Mr. Collins, you'll sign here. Mrs. Collins, here. And Mr. Edwards, here as the creditor. She looked at them. Please sign using your legal names. Otis picked up the pen. Otis signed first. His signature was sharp, angry, pressed hard enough to indent the paper beneath. Lottie's hand shook as she signed, tears dropping onto the table beside the document. The notary blotted them carefully before they could stain the paper. Maria witnessed each signature, filled out her log, stamped the document with her official seal. The stamp made a solid thunk against the paper. Final, binding. She made copies, one for each party, handed Otis and Lottie theirs in a folder, gave me mine. This is now a legally binding agreement, enforceable under Nevada law. She packed up her supplies. If there are any questions about the notarization, my contact information is on the document. Good afternoon. She left, closing the door quietly behind her. Lottie, you have keys to my house in Phoenix. I need them back. She got up quietly, still crying, retrieved her key ring from her purse, handed me 2 keys with shaking hands. I took them, put them in my pocket. Those keys represented access, trust, family connection. Now they were in my pocket. The door between us was locked. I pulled out one more document from my briefcase. The copy of my new will. Set it on their dining table. This is a copy of my will, executed on July 6th. You're welcome to read it, but I'll summarize. You inherit nothing. My entire estate goes to charity. Otis sounded bitter. We get it. You've made your point. No, I don't think you do get it. You weren't just stealing $30,000. You were counting on me dying, waiting for it, planning for it. That inheritance you were counting on, it's gone. Even if I died tomorrow, you'd get nothing. I looked at both of them. You used my trust and my love as tools for theft. You faked a paralysis to manipulate me into giving you money. You searched my house for financial documents to calculate what you'd inherit. Those were your choices. Now you'll live with the consequences. Lottie tried one last time. Dad, you're my father. We're family. You can't just cut me out of your life forever. You cut yourself out when you lied about being paralyzed. People make mistakes. Families forgive each other. Mistakes are accidental. This was calculated. 5 months of daily lies. That wasn't a mistake. That was fraud. I remembered her as a child, 8 years old, missing her front tooth, showing me a drawing. Look, Daddy, it's us. That child wouldn't have lied to me, but that child was gone. The debt agreement includes a no contact clause. No calls, no texts, no emails. You'll make your payments on time through automatic bank transfer. I never want to hear from you again. Otis couldn't help himself. What if you need nothing from me? You made that clear. Now I'm making it clear. We're done. I put the signed debt agreement in my briefcase, closed the case, stood up. I looked at them one last time. Lottie still crying, mascara running. Otis standing with his arms crossed, face hard with anger and defeat. Their expensive furniture surrounded them, purchased with money they'd stolen. You had a choice in February. When you decided to lie about being paralyzed, that was a choice. Every text message, every fake medical document, every phone call asking for more money, those were choices. You chose to see me as a mark instead of a father. You chose greed over honesty. These consequences are yours to carry. I picked up my briefcase and walked to the door, opened it. The afternoon heat hit me, Vegas summer, even in late August. I didn't look back, closed the door behind me, heard it click shut. I walked across the parking lot, got in my truck, set my briefcase on the passenger seat, started the engine, and drove away. I drove out of Henderson, onto the highway toward Phoenix. The city receded in my rearview mirror, casinos, hotels, the strip shimmering in the heat. I wouldn't be coming back. 4 hours of driving gives you time to think. I didn't regret what I'd done. They'd stolen $30,000 through fraud. They deserved legal consequences. I'd given them the option to avoid prison, and they'd taken it. Fair. But I'd lost something too. Not money, that was just money. I'd lost the idea of my daughter as someone I could trust. Lost the image of her I'd carried for 34 years. That was gone permanently. But I'd gained something else. Proof that I wouldn't be a victim. That I could be wronged and still stand up. still fight back, still demand justice. 35 years fighting fires had taught me that you don't let things burn unchecked. You face the problem, you contain it, you put it out. The sign appeared, "Welcome to Arizona, my state, my home." The landscape shifted, Joshua trees giving way to saguaros. 4 more hours to Phoenix. The week passed. I fell back into my routines, coffee on the porch in the morning, afternoon walks, evening news. The house felt quieter, but that was fine. I'd always been comfortable with quiet. On August 31st, I checked my phone. Banking app notification. Transfer received $835 from Edwards Collins Lottie. The first payment. On time. Automatic transfer as required by the agreement. 35 more payments to go. 36 months total. 3 years of this reminder, once a month. Not punishment, consequences. There's a difference. I opened my spreadsheet, the same one where I'd tracked the 30,000 going out. Now I tracked it coming back. August 31st, $835. Balance owed, $29,225. I saved the file. I sat on my back porch as the sun set. Phoenix in late August, still hot, but the worst of summer was passing. The mesquite tree in my yard cast long shadows. Cicadas hummed. The sky turned orange, then pink, then purple. I wasn't happy. Justice doesn't make you happy. It just makes things right. There's a difference. I'd achieved what I set out to do. They would repay what they stole. They would face consequences for their actions. But that didn't erase the betrayal. I'd learned something in these months. Love has limits. I'd loved my daughter unconditionally for 34 years. But unconditional love doesn't mean accepting unlimited abuse. It doesn't mean letting yourself be stolen from, lied to, manipulated. Love can exist alongside boundaries. Trust must be earned. I'd given trust freely because she was family. That was my mistake. Trust isn't a birthright. It's built through actions, through honesty, through integrity. Once broken, it's nearly impossible to rebuild. For 8 months, I'd been their victim. From February to June, I'd sent money to fund a lie. But I'd stopped being a victim the night I discovered the truth. I'd become something else, someone who demanded accountability, who built a case, who refused to accept being taken advantage of. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was someone who'd stood up for himself. I looked at my house through the porch screen. 30 years I'd lived here, raised Lottie here, back when she was that 8-year-old with drawings. My wife had died here 8 years ago. The house held memories of a family that no longer existed. I'd told them I was selling it, moving to Vegas. That was the bait. The truth? I wasn't going anywhere. This was my home, my life. The Phoenix Fire Department Memorial Fund would get it someday, but not yet. Not for a long time, if I had anything to say about it. 35 more payments. 35 more reminders that I'd stood up for myself, that I'd demanded consequences. The sun finished setting. The sky went from purple to deep blue to black. Stars appeared. Not many. Phoenix has too much light pollution, but enough. I sat there a while longer, listening to the cicadas, feeling the temperature drop from unbearable to merely warm. Tomorrow I'd wake up, have my coffee, live my life. A life without them in it. A life I'd defended. A life that was mine. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.